Hey everybody, Pastor Matt here from Surprise Church Bismarck, welcoming you to another weekly edition of our Worship Anywhere broadcast. Whether you're watching on TV, online, or some other random way that I haven't even thought of yet, we're glad to have you with us. And this is a special week for us at Surprise. It's our kickoff week for our fall season of ministry. We're doing Family Fun Day this weekend, so it's going to be a fantastic weekend. If you're at all in the Bismarck area, please join us. Otherwise, pray for us because we think there's going to be hundreds of new people just checking out our Surprise family and getting connected. So we would love your prayers to help us be great hosts. Before we do anything else, make sure you download our app following the directions at the bottom of the screen so that you can track along with us, get sermon notes. You can download the sermon questions, watch past sermons, and all kinds of other good stuff. And then you can also follow the text prompts at the bottom of the screen that'll be shown periodically so that you can get one more step forward in terms of your involvement with and connection to us at Surprise. All right, let's do some good here. We are checking in this month. 10 check-ins equals a day of school to a child in need. Hashtag Kids for School, School for Kids rather, if you want to use the hashtag to let folks know what you're doing. These are great conversation starters too. Not only are you doing good by we're partnering with an organization that sends a donation with every check-in, but you're also opening up to conversations with people who see your check and say, tell me about that cause or tell me about that church. And so hopefully it leads to some really neat conversations for you. Thanks for your help checking in and doing good. We are starting a brand new season, as I said, this fall, and we're packaging it under the theme Unify. As a church, we believe that God has called us to do some really, really cool things in Bismarck. We believe that our job is to help make Bismarck a better place to live for everyone here. Not just people who go to our church, but everyone of every age. But to do that, we have to be united as a community so that we know how to do that. How we can be a church that's for Bismarck and for Mandan and for people in our city. So check out this preview, and then we're going to dive right in. So we want to figure out how to bloom as a church, how to continue to unify in order to make a difference. And it's true in church, it's true in sports, it's true in just about anything, business, that when you're united as a team, you are so much more effective. I mean, if your family has ever been just at odds with one another, kids are fighting, parents are fighting, it's impossible to just get through the day. I mean, just getting through an evening meal when everybody is on a different page, it almost just makes you want to go to Burger King, sit alone in a booth, and cram fries down your throat until you puke. I mean, it's just that bad, right? But when you're on the same page, when you share values, when you understand, even when you make mistakes, how to get back to that same page, it's a whole different thing. And you feel like you have a purpose together. That's the most important thing. I think in this world today, there's just a desperate lack of purpose. People look for political causes. They look for hysterias all around us to jump on the bandwagon and just scream the sky is falling on one issue or another because they don't really have a purpose. They might have affluence, but they're bored and they're desperate for purpose. And the gospel gives us that purpose. So I also want to surprise you the fact that you are actually taking a class right now. Normally we have a class called Starting Line. It's either a 1 or 2 session class, and we've turned it into a 2 session class now, that you have to go to a online Zoom meeting or a classroom after church to go to. But surprise, you are right now entering into Starting Line class. This week and next week, our broadcasts are going to give you an inside scoop at what we talk about at Starting Line, because I'll tell you what, that is my absolute favorite meeting of my year, is when I sit down with new people to Surprise and just unpack the Surprise story and our vision to unify for Bismarck. But I always get done thinking, man, I wish I could do this with the whole church. And this summer we're like, why can't we? Let's do Starting Line with everybody. And so we have a couple things that we normally do just in classes, but we believe they're so good and so important, we want everybody to experience them. So throughout this fall, as part of our Unify series, you're going to be getting some things that might only be given to people that are new to Surprise, but we think they're just too good for everyone not to experience. And as we do that, we think it's going to bring us closer together as a church and more on the same page so that we can make a bigger difference together. Everything at Surprise starts with a lost son. If you've been around Surprise long enough, you've heard the story of the prodigal son, a kid that just did what you would think any dad would disown him for doing. He's just a creep. He makes all the wrong choices. And as you're reading the story, you don't really want him to get forgiveness. You don't really want him to find the right way. You kind of want to watch him suffer because he's such a creep. But that's not how the story goes. And as we uncover this story, we uncover something important about God and about the kind of people he's calling his followers to be, the kind of church he's calling us to be. It comes from the book of Luke, which is in the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Luke chapter 15. The context is really important here. You can't just see the story floating in space. It's got a context. Context is king. And in the context, Jesus is having fish and chips, having a meal with some people that would have been seen as outcasts, lost people, drunks, prostitutes, maybe tax collectors, sinners. And the religious people are trying to find a reason to prove that they are better than Jesus, even though he's saying and doing things that they could never say and do. They're threatened by him, and so they want to somehow press him down to feel better about themselves. And so they're mocking him. Aha, we got him. Look, Jesus is hanging out with unholy, sinful people. A holy man would never do that. That's what they thought. These religious people didn't think that a person who's following God would associate with such lowlifes. So they kind of had a two-tiered system of life and faith. Us and them. And your goal should be to be in the us, and to prove that you're in the us, you stay away from them. So that's where we pick up. The prodigal son in this story is, he tells a couple stories right in a row, and the prodigal son is the third story. But he tells the story to these snotty, stick-in-your-butt religious people who really think that he has made a mistake hanging out with these outcasts. He tells the story of a lost sheep, that a shepherd leaves the 99 sheep and finds the one that's lost, and then throws a big party with his friends and neighbors. And Jesus says, God is like that. And then he tells the story of a lost coin. A woman tears her house apart, finds this lost coin, and then throws a big party with all of her friends. And Jesus says, God is like that. And you're like, well, I'm not sure I would throw a big party for sheep and coins. There must be something really, really valuable about those sheep and coins. And Jesus now gets to the apex of this trilogy, the story that shows you really why the narrative goes that way in those other stories, because indeed the thing found is valuable, at least to the finder. And now he tells a story of a lost son. It's the story of the prodigal son, you've probably heard. And in this story, a young man asks for his inheritance early, which is like wishing your dad is dead, right? You get it when he dies. He's like, I want it now. I don't want to wait for you to die. I want you to be dead to me. Takes his dad's cash, squanders it in a far-off land on wild living, and I'll let you fill in all the PG-13 or worse blanks of what that wild living looks like. This is a family show. I'm not going to go into details here. But he only returns, he only makes the long journey back when he runs out of cash and he's hungry and he thinks his former dad would give him a job. What a creep. And he's even rehearsing his canned speech on the way home. Father, I have sinned against heaven and I have sinned against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired hands, blah, blah, blah. He's like, at least my dad's workers have food, so I think he'll probably hire me. The reality is he has very low expectations. He thinks of himself as like a bad slave who didn't do a good job as a son, so maybe could get a job. And I think these people are everywhere. I think there are people all over Bismarck, all over North Dakota, all over the world that really have given up on the idea of being a child of God. Maybe they can get a job for God. Maybe they can do God a solid over here, and in transactional, in turn, God will maybe do them a solid over there. Maybe they can create some manipulative contract with God where if I scratch your back, maybe you'll scratch mine. Maybe if I try to improve as a slave, maybe you'll give me a job. Maybe I'll get some food in my belly. Maybe I'll have some good luck. But their expectations are drastically low of who they can be in relation to God and God's family, the church. Maybe they've been hurt by the church. They've been judged by people who, like Jesus, were just trying to do the right thing. But the religious people judged him for hanging out with the wrong people, quote unquote. Maybe they've seen that side of religious people. But I think these lost sons are everywhere. And they have made lots of mistakes. They have not only been hurt by others. They have screwed up many times over, and they know it, at least in part. Their best hope? Maybe I could do God a favor and he'll help me out. Maybe I'll have a little good luck. Well, Luke 15 shows the story takes a little twist. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. Notice that while he was still a long way off, his dad was watching for him all these days, all these months, maybe even all these years. His dad was scanning the horizon, desperately looking for the familiar walk of his lost son. And when he sees him, he runs, which is something that you would never do if you're a wealthy Middle Eastern landowner. You would send a servant. You would send a young person. You were too dignified to run. But this father doesn't care about his looks or reputation. He only cares about his son. And so he undignifies himself, shames himself, hikes up his dress, no underwear in this day and age, and he runs to his son because he just plain loves him and misses him. And when he sees him, he hugs him and kisses him. He doesn't even let the kid get through his canned, rehearsed speech. While he was still a long way off, the father ran to him. Do you know that you are never too far off for God? Never. I'm not just saying that. God's saying that. You might have failed 1,000 times over. You may have hurt someone so bad they will never forgive you. You may have disappointed yourself, and you have had to live with the consequences. You may have been told by someone you really respect that you are not worth the time of day. You may have been dismissed and rejected by someone you really wanted to be accepted for, or a group that you really wanted to be a part of. But you're not too far off for God. God sees you as that lost coin, lost sheep, and lost son that he would throw a party when he wins you back home. You're never, no matter what's happened, you're never too far away from him. Even when people won't forgive you, God can, and if you seek it, he will. The story continues. The son said to the father, "Father, I have sinned against you, heaven, and have sinned against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." And he cuts him off. Doesn't even let him get through the canned speech. But the father said to his servants, "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For the son of mine was dead and is alive again. He is lost. He was lost and now he is found." So they began to celebrate. Here's the deal, folks. God always is ready to party. He is always, he's ready. He's got the cymbals. He's ready to start crashing. He's got the balloon thing that, you know, or the New Year's Eve thing he's ready to blow. He's got the thing for New Year's Eve that explodes, and he's got all that stuff ready to go. He's got the confetti. He's got the piñata. You pick your party tools. He's got it. He's ready. As soon as we turn to him and say, "I give up trying to just make life on my own. I just want to be part of your family again. I don't deserve it," he throws a party. You're never too off for God to throw a party to welcome you home. Never. He's always ready. Try it. Try it. Just come. Just try it. But here's the deal, though. As cool as this scene is, there is another son. There's another part of the story that really is aimed at the religious people who just don't get it, who so far aren't sure what to think about the story, but now Jesus turns and aims right at their souls. Verse 28, Luke 15 says, "The older brother became angry and refused to go in." So he refused to go in and dance the Macarena. He's not going to do the chicken dance, the Congo line. He's not going to do the YMCA dance with the village people. He is just standing outside, smoking a cigarette, refusing to go in. So his father went out. Second time the father has to run out after one of his lost sons. And he pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look," listen to what he says. This is so telling of how this young man understands himself and his place in this family. "All these years I have been slaving." He sees himself as a slave. "I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders." because slave masters give orders. You never gave me even a young goat that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours," doesn't even call him his brother, just your son, "has squandered your property with prostitutes and comes home, you kill the fatted calf for him. Where's my flippin' goat? I didn't even get a goat. And this kid gets the fattened calf, the prize heifer. No fair." See, the bad older brother in this story resembles a lot of us religious people who maybe feel like we have put in the time. I have been coming and sitting in the front row of church. I have been giving financially. I have been volunteering. I have been I've been going to the annual meeting every year. I went on the mission trip. I learned the actions to the Bible camp songs. I went to Sunday school and they used to give out those perfect attendance badges. I got those. Where's your perfect attendance badge? And that makes us competitive because we start to put our faith in our good slaveness, in our accomplishments before God, our being better than someone else. And that's the danger when you find yourself in the faith community. You start to look sideways and compare yourselves to other people. This is what we do. We're still distorted in sin. And that means that instead of looking to help and love and serve and care for, we're trying to make sure that we're better than and above so that we deserve more favor than they do. That makes us resent grace. And it makes me reject my role to find my lost brothers and sisters. That's what happened to this guy. He felt like a slave, and so he was competing for the slave scraps from the master. He rejected then the role of what a brother would do. Go and find his lost brother somewhere out there, wasting his dad's money and wasting his life. And he resents grace because that would mean that he and his brother were on the same footing before his father, and he couldn't accept that because he thought he had the advantage. And this, my friends, is how many religious people think. It's how the people criticizing Jesus thought. And it's often how you and I do if we've been around the church block a few times. And we need to repent. We need to ask forgiveness, because it's choking us and preventing us from being inside the party with everyone else and enjoying the life-giving celebration and being a part of the party planning committee that happens when lost sons come home. The father is devastated when he hears how his son really thought of his role in the family. "My son," the father said, "you're always with me and everything I have is yours, but we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." And the story just ends with a haunting echo of "he is found." We had to celebrate. There should be a good brother in the story, right? There should be a good older brother that does the right thing, and we don't get to see that in the story. The story has a donut hole the size of a human being who should play the role of the good older brother. But then we watch the stories continue in the Gospels, and we watch Jesus step into the human story and play that role himself of the good older brother who said to his father, "Send me to find my lost brothers and sisters, and I will do everything. I will even give my life to win them back and bring them home to the celebration with God." Jesus is the good older brother. And he invites you and I, when we have been welcomed back to his family as once prodigal, once lost, now found sons and daughters. He invites us to dream about this question. This is the question that haunted my family and my wife and I as we started Surprise Church. What would a church full of good older brothers look like? Imagine it. Not just Jesus, but a church packed full of people who resemble him, who can't wait to do the Macarena, who can't wait to do the chicken dance with lost sons and daughters and make sure that they get an invitation to be a part of this family. Well, we couldn't stop thinking about that question, and we had to find out what the answer is. And if you've ever wondered, what would a church full of good older brothers look like? I have good news for you. You found it. This weekend, Surprise Church is throwing a party called Family Fun Day. And I have been so overwhelmed to tears as we simply say, hey, we're throwing a party and we're going to welcome people in our city. Would you guys be willing to give some prizes? We have received thousands of dollars of donations in prizes from good older brothers in our church who realize that it's not about us anymore. It's about being good older brothers. We're not looking for a goat for ourselves. We already are part of the family. we're going to do everything we can to win back and welcome others into this family. We have tens of thousands of invitations, handwritten invitations, online and digital invitations, Facebook shares that have gone out to all kinds of people. And we have dozens and dozens of volunteers who are making this party happen. This is the prodigal son party full of good older brothers. And I'm so proud to be a part of that church. This next Wednesday, we have our student ministries kickoff, and we're welcoming trying to reach more lost sons and daughters that are in students' ages in our community. We're throwing a big bash up in Washburn on the 25th, Evolving Marriage Retreat, which I want to challenge you to register for soon. Wherever you're from, it's worth the trip. Your marriage deserves a day, but we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for everyone outside of our church who just wants to come back to the family. And last, as we get to the end of September, we're creating all kinds of community groups, just places for people to open up their front door and allow you to be a part of something great, allow you to be a part of a life-giving family that treats you like one of us and that helps you grow in your faith. I hope you'll accept that invitation as well. So here's the deal. You just went to part one. You just went part one of Starting Line. And next week is part two. Don't miss it. And we're going to take a look at really what does this flesh out to look like in real time for people like you. Whether you live in our area or whether you're far away from Bismarck, you can play a part in this story. You can be a good older brother in this story. But just hearing that doesn't give you the steps. And so we're going to give you the concrete steps that you can take next Sunday or next weekend when we walk through this in our next message. Before I end, I want to close with a quick story. Weddings are oftentimes how families get together, right? Like you don't see each other and then someone gets married and everybody travels back. Hopefully, funerals are the other occasion. As your family, progresses, there's going to be funerals too. But weddings are the fun one, obviously. And you know how that thing happens at almost every wedding. It's a cross-cultural thing, whether it's a Jewish wedding, a Greek wedding, or Chinese wedding, or Indian wedding, any nationality. The family tends to get together in a circle, and whatever music is playing, we'll just go with the village people rocking out for a little bit. Everybody kind of gets in a circle, and they either link arms or dance close, and then maybe one or two at a time, people get in the middle of the circle and do some weird gyrating thing that no one's ever seen before. It doesn't really qualify as dancing. It's just a weird circle dance thing. We've all been there. Every family does it. It's instinctive. It's God-given lunacy that just proves that we're human beings that are goofy to God. And I happened to be at a wedding with my family, and excuse me, my phone's going off here. Sorry. Anyway, so I happened to be at a wedding with my family, and we're in doing the circle dance thing, and I everyone's taking their turn in the middle doing a weird thing, and I happened to be standing right by my dad, and I looked over and I just had to chuckle because I got to tell you, the guy can't dance. I mean, he's not a good dancer. And Dad, if you're watching, I love you, grateful for you, but you're never going to be a dancer. And I'm kind of just chuckling to myself, like maybe those people who are chuckling to Jesus, like, what? Look at it, get a load of this guy. And I look over, and he's kind of just doing this, I don't know, the hips are pretty stationary, just kind of twisting back and forth, and then kind of doing a running man, jogging man in place thing, just leaning forward and back, like something you might wind up and put on the table for a kid to play with. And I'm just laughing. I'm just like, this is nuts. Like, this is not dancing. Dad, you're a terrible dancer. And then I looked at my own arms, and I looked at my own waist, and I laughed hysterically because I realized that Dad and I are dancing in unison the exact same way, like father, like son. Good older brothers dance like Dad. We want to show you how to dance. Jesus is a great partier. He's a great dancer. Don't be stuck outside when the music's playing. Be inside with the rest of the good older brothers, with the rest of the found lost sons who recognize that we don't work for goats. We're in the family. And we live to share the love that has been extended to us. God bless you. Thanks for praying, and thanks for being a part of the good older brothers that makes Surprise Church such a blessing to so many. God bless you. We'll see you next week for part 2.